Hey everyone, Dr. Dan here, and welcome to Hello World with Dr. Dan. So in this video tutorial, I'm going to actually kind of make a slight amendment from my last video. So my last two kind of intro videos getting you set up with this Hello World with Dr. Dan course. I showed you how to, get your Java Eclipse environment installed. That was installing the Java development kit as well as Eclipse, getting that up and running. And then I also showed you how to use Git to get all the code, so you had all of your completed code on your particular computer. And then I also showed you how to create all these Java projects. So you would basically say new Java project, and then you would give it the name of each one of these individual folders. So that is true for the most part for modules 1 through 7, which are all Java projects of sorts. Module 8 is actually a C++ project, and then the next setup video I'll show you exactly how to get C++ integrated into Eclipse and get that code running in your own environment. But I want to add like a little bit of an asterisk, so to speak, a caveat to Module 6. Module 6 is going to be a little bit different of a Java project. It's actually something called a Maven project, and I'll explain all about Maven once you actually get into the lesson videos themselves. But for now, I just kind of want to get you up and running. In short, Maven is a online repository of libraries. So when we first started out, we just have the Java library, which gives us a lot of functionality. It's like if I have my own home library in my city, I can go and check out all kinds of books from that library. It gives me all kinds of functionality and knowledge and things like that. But eventually you might find that your library doesn't actually have all the books in the world. So you might need to go to some external library in the city next door to your library to get some new books or new functionality. So that's what we're going to do with Maven, is we're going to pull in some new functionality from some new libraries. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this. Now the documentation is all there for you. If you actually look inside the module 6 folder, you'll see a README file in there. So I'll go ahead and open that, and we're going to more or less follow through these instructions. They do work, but I also know that as a beginner or doing something that you've never done before, want to make sure that there's no steps that were missed over here. So I'll go ahead and just kind of run through this real quickly so you can see it in video form as well. So what you're going to do is over in the Package Explorer, you're going to right click somewhere in the white area, and you're just going to go to New Project. Down towards the bottom you'll see Maven, and you're going to go to that Maven project, and then you'll click Next. Just want to make sure that both Create a Simple Project and Use Default Workspace Location are selected, and then you'll go ahead and click Next. And then you'll see it's going to ask you for a few pieces of information. This is somewhat arbitrary, but go ahead and use this stuff. I know it will work for you. So for your group ID, you can just copy and paste this, com.hello Dr. Dan. And then for the artifact ID and the name, you're going to give it basically the folder name that we had created for that. So we'll paste that into the name area and the artifact ID. Okay, so once we have those 3 pieces of information in, everything else can pretty much stay the same. We'll go ahead and click Finish. Okay, so you'll see if you actually expand this a little bit, it basically created this pom.xml file. Okay, so if I open that up, you'll kind of see basically all that information I just input, com.hello Dr. Dan, module 6, and so on and so forth is in there. Not a whole lot. So the next thing I need to do is I want to actually import the specific library that we're working with, which is the Unirest Java library. So go ahead and open up a browser and paste that address from that README file. And what you are going to do is you're basically going to go to this whatever the latest version is in this table. In my case, it's 1.4.9. For you, it's 1.4.10 or 1.5. You can, most likely it's safe to go ahead and grab that latest one. Just click on that version and make sure the Maven tag is selected here. And what we're going to do with that, I'm going to kind of bring this down into the corner here. What we're going to do with that is now on this pom.xml file, I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to do Run as Maven Install. Okay, so do Run as Maven Install. I'm sorry. skipped a step. I right click and then I will say Maven add dependency. Okay, sorry, that was the next step in there if I slowed down and kind of read through that one line at a time. So what we're going to do now is we are going to grab that group ID, artifact ID, and the version number from this website right here and just paste it in these three fields. So I'll go ahead and grab the group ID of com.mashape.unirest, and then I'll go ahead and grab the artifact ID, and then finally the version. Okay. So then I will go ahead and I will click OK, and you'll see that will basically add. You'll know it worked if in that pom.xml file you now see a new dependency added in this dependency section that looks like basically the information you just copied and pasted in there. Okay, so once you see that stuff in there, you should now be able to right click on that file and then click Run As Maven Install. So we'll kind of wait for that. You should see Build Success. If you don't see Build Success the first time, just right click on it, Run As Maven Install again. Oftentimes happens that the first time it doesn't work for me and the second time it does. And that's generally as a tip for you. You'll find that often, whether it's with something like this Maven library installer, if you ever make it into the world of web development or mobile app development and you start working with the NPM package manager, stands for Node Package Manager, you'll find that, I often find that a lot of times things don't install the first time. Just try it again. Usually the second or third time it'll go through. So that can save you a lot of wasted time debugging a problem that didn't really exist. So anyway, now that that is all there, any code that we're going to create should be in that source main/Java folder up here, and you can see our particular code is up here. So if we want to test this, we'll go ahead and run this lesson 3 APIs JSON. So if we run this, it's actually going to use the Yelp API and this library that we had just imported. Let me actually show you what happened when I installed this file, this pom.xml Maven kind of file. It actually went out and downloaded a bunch of different external jar files. So you can see the unirest-java file, but then it went out and downloaded a bunch of other jar libraries that this unirest Java library depended on. So it's really neat. When I actually started this project, I tried to just manually install this jar, and I just kept running into problem after problem after problem because this jar required this one and this one required that one and so on and so forth. And I actually couldn't figure it out. I wasted probably a few hours trying to figure out all these dependencies before finally deciding to just use this Maven dependency handler. And you saw how quickly that was. I just basically told it which jar I wanted, and it automatically figured out all the dependent jars and libraries that were needed. So learning how to use this will open up a whole lot of possibilities for you guys as you see new external functionality from external libraries that you want to add into your projects. So anyway, back to the program, enter the search location. I'll just do Cincinnati, Ohio. We'll look for some chili in 10 miles. And what you'll see is I actually have an API key up here, but if you didn't, what you would see, so we do know that this is working, but what you'll get when you first start the project is something like this, your key here. So if you run it, you can type in whatever city you want and whatever type of food you're looking for and a distance. What you should see is something like this, validation error. Bearer, your key here does not match. So this is actually a response from the server itself. It may feel just kind of like code that got printed in a Java program, but if you see this, you're actually in good shape. Essentially, if you can compile and run this program at all, you actually know that you successfully got all these libraries into place. Okay, so that's the first thing, kind of special setup for Module 6. There's also another special setup for Module 6, and that involves Lesson 4. So Lesson 4, we actually do GUIs and something called WindowBuilder. So if I run this program, you'll see a really nice GUI that pops up with all kinds of labels and text fields and lists and buttons and things like that. In order to create this, we use a special platform called WindowBuilder. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually install WindowBuilder to show you how to really modify that GUI using kind of a graphical engine instead of just writing code from scratch. In an earlier example, we'll write some code from scratch. So anyway, how I get that installed is I'm going to go up to the help, and then I'm going to go to Eclipse Marketplace. And once this loads, we're going to go ahead and type in WindowBuilder. So I just let that be one word, and you should see it should pop up. In this case, WindowBuilder 1.9.1. You may or may not already have this installed. I know some previous versions, actually, I believe WindowBuilder was packaged with Eclipse. So there was a time where it wasn't, and then it was, and now I think it's not again. So anyway, go ahead and just install whatever version it comes up with will be the one that should be compatible with your version of Eclipse. So go ahead and install that. Just leave everything checked, confirm. I accept. And as I mentioned in another example, as you're installing this software, do make sure if you do run into any snags where it just kind of pauses for a long period of time, do go into your little control panel down here and either pause or disable any antivirus software you have or firewalls or anything like that, because I have seen in the past with my students that they've run into some issues where their antivirus kind of blocked the progress of that, and it just kind of pauses. So anyway, at some point it'll finish and you'll just click restart now. That's going to close Eclipse and reload it. Okay, go ahead and close that. And now if I go back into my Module 6 code and I go into my Lesson 4, so by default, you can see it just opens it up as pure code. But if I go ahead and right click on it now, I should be able to say open with, and you'll see WindowBuilder Editor. So what will happen now is you'll have a source tab. Go ahead and full screen this. You should see that you have a source tab and a design tab. So when I click the design tab, it's going to parse that code and basically give me a bunch of kind of a graphical representation. So now I can actually come and resize all these different controls if I want, and all kinds of neat stuff like that. So anyway, I will explain all about Maven to install package dependencies, as well as WindowBuilder, what it is, how to use it, all these different components and layouts and stuff like that. Those will be described in the video, but I did want to make sure that you were properly set up for this project. If for some reason you don't see the design tab, again, just make sure that you right click on the file itself and that you open with WindowBuilder Editor. All right, so that should get you all set up for Module 6, all those special additional installations. Thanks, guys.